always dealt with, at least in the social aspect of the reptile hobby, is dealing with friends who have aspects of their husbandry they could improve upon. How do you talk to them without ruining your friendship? This can be a very touchy subject. Additionally, this could extend to people who have more of a name in the hobby, especially compared to yourself, but still lack in some areas of their husbandry. People at that stage or at that level tend to think that they got everything down pat, but not really. So how do we talk to them? How do we bring up these conversations without getting hate thrown at you? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, how's it going? You know, it's the beginning of a new year. I'll be completely bald. Yellow Aki. Hey guys, how's it going? So I guess today's conversation could be a lesson in constructive criticism, especially when working with people you care about, which we are today. We're talking about our friends. How do we talk to them about something very personal like their husbandry? And of course, I think one of the biggest flaws or even pitfalls of being someone who's notable in the hobby is nobody wants to correct you, and you don't really open yourself up to seeing errors or holes in your husbandry. So how do we talk to those people? Talk to the people who really do know a lot and probably have very minimum, husbandry holes, but they still are prone to error. How do we talk to them without getting people just attacking us because we're going after someone more notable and not really going after someone, we're just trying to help? Well, before talking about approaches, I do want to just say that there are people that you're going to talk to, even a friend, that are just not going to be accepting of your criticism, no matter how well you approach them and how much you care about their feelings when doing so. Some people are just ignorant. I've always said that it's very human to make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. But doing what's right, being respectable, I think comes from people who learn they're making a mistake and then correct it. Even if it costs money, even if it costs resources. That's what's ultimately important. But those anti-advice reptile hobbyists do exist. They are out there. They really have no business owning reptiles if they're not going to take other people's advice, and I don't know how you would get so knowledgeable if you never did in the first place, but I just want you guys to know that there is not 100% foolproof method to going about this, and there are going to be people that you just cannot deal with. And I think that kind of works our way into maybe step one here. It's really identifying who you're talking to. You might not know them all that well. Of course, if they're a friend, you probably do, but if you're talking to someone else in the hobby, you might not. You want to know what type of person they are. I know, for example, me and Adam Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles. I have to slow that down because I always say it backwards. Adam has always been open to criticism, and we've always kind of established that relationship there. So I have no issues talking to Adam and being like, this video, I don't necessarily agree with this. Where were you coming from? We have a dialogue there, and it works pretty well. He's pretty chill with that. So I know with Adam, I can approach him in a more upfront manner, but you might have friends that are a little bit more, iffy about being told their husbandry is incorrect, so you may have to cater to their feelings a little bit more. And I know, you're thinking probably right now, I really shouldn't have to cater to someone's feelings to get them to better their husbandry. Really, at the end of the day, yeah, that's completely true. But we're dealing with humans here, and I gotta say, some people are more emotional. I think I'm more of an emotional person, especially as a guy, than other people, so I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. We're all different, unique humans, we all have different ways to go about things. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think we should just care about the reptiles, and if that means being a little bit nicer about it or caring about someone's feelings a little bit more just so the reptiles can thrive, I think we should all do that without an issue. Oh, real quick guys, I just need to say that if you definitely want to improve your husbandry, a sure way to do that is to hit that subscribe button in the lower right hand corner, hit that bell as well for all husbandry related aspects of reptiles. Yeah, I sound intelligent. So step one, people, identify who you're talking to and try to learn what their demeanor is like and how upfront you could be with them or how much you have to tiptoe around them. I would say step two here is back off. Don't get right on their butt. I was gonna say differently. I would say a hefty majority of you watching this video right now definitely know one of the biggest issues in the hobby is how much people attack each other, especially when it's a husbandry thing and correcting someone's husbandry, especially a newbie, and that really turns those people away. That is exactly what you want to do with a friend, with anybody. You want to be nice to them. You don't want to be one of those people that go and attack and immediately say, you're wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're going to kill your animal. That just makes them probably actually not going to correct anything and feel really bad about themselves and bad about the community, and it's just ultimately going to hurt everyone and the reptiles in that situation. So I always think starting with a compliment or a few compliments and then throwing in some negative or improvement aspects is a good way to approach it and engage them. Not only criticize them, even if it's constructive, but have a conversation with them, ask questions.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Ask questions about the reptile, what they like about owning that reptile, how old that reptile is. Elements like that make them feel safe and at home in the conversation. Obviously, with a friend, you probably know a lot about their animal, but what you can do instead is ask them how they kind of got to doing this particular aspect of husbandry that you disagree with. For example, going back to Adam and I'm gonna leak some DMs here, sorry Adam. Well, I might not post them, we'll see how crazy I get. But a while ago, Adam released a video about reptiles that you don't need to provide UVB for. And I kind of had a little bit of an issue with that. So I approached him, I talked to him about it, and before really super criticizing him, I did, I think, initially say that I didn't really like the kind of tone of the video. It encouraged not having UVB for species that can still utilize UVB and probably have some improvement in life, mostly geckos. But before getting to any true criticism, I asked him how he kind of got to making this video and coming up with the idea for this video and where his mindset was. Mindset is a really important thing where two people disagree, especially in husbandry aspects. And what I learned from this conversation and asking these questions is that the video's purpose was not to promote no UVB for these species, but just to talk about optional UVB species and tell people a little bit about species that they could maybe not need it for, is the best way I guess I could come across with that. I don't know, Adam, leave a comment if I'm saying it wrong. Essentially here, the misunderstanding is he wasn't trying to say you don't need UVB for these species, but that it's optional, and you should still use it. He still promoted the idea of using UVB for these species. It was just talking about species that don't exactly require it. And that's where the misunderstanding, like I said, was, and I think we came to a good conclusion there, and we figured it out, and no hard feelings ever came up throughout that process. So yeah, not exactly husbandry related, talking more about video topics, but I think you kind of get the point there. You can probably clarify things and make sure you're on the same page before any true criticism comes up. A lot of people jump the gun on that criticism and criticize things that might actually not need criticism if they understand where the person was coming from. Or it could be more of a conversation and a debate than an actual criticism once you understand why they did this particular thing. So step 2, don't attack. Learn a little bit about the person, engage with them, ask them questions, have a conversation, and make sure they feel comfortable, whether it's your friend or some stranger. I think that's the best way to really go and approach a topic and make sure there's no misunderstandings, because misunderstandings, they can blow up pretty quickly. Step 3, and this is a really important one, use evidence. You cannot argue against evidence. You can debate it, you can provide counter evidence, but you can't just say, no, that's not true, unless you're just completely dumb, and those people exist, trust me. Link research articles, link research papers, even link intellectual discussions, anything that lends to what you're trying to say and get your point across and correct. Utilize that, especially in a situation where they're not super receptive. That's incredibly important. On the flip side of that though, be welcoming to counter evidence. Don't be the person who's being stubborn. If someone comes back and provides counter evidence, look into it, and then maybe you think about your husbandry. I know this is a little tangent, but I just want to say that as well. It's okay to be incorrect yourself. But let's say, for example, someone's keeping a tegu's basking spot at like 80 degrees. Obviously, that is just not accurate at all. There is plenty of information you could link to back up your argument that it should be much higher. So great situation there if someone's giving you a problem for some reason thinking their basking spot is okay at that temperature, but I think you kind of get what I mean. So quick recap before the final step. Step 1, identify who you're talking to, whether they will engage with you and listen to you in some aspect. Step 2, don't attack, have a conversation, talk it over with them, and don't immediately criticize. Step 3, use evidence. And step 4, if all that fails, know when to back out. If someone's being truly stubborn, your friend, whomever, just know when to end the conversation. At some point, it's just gonna get to arguing and fighting, and that's gonna be good for nobody, especially if it's in a public forum. At the end of the day, you tried. You pretty much did everything you could. You misidentified them, obviously, from step 1, but you tried to engage them in step 2 and really have a conversation about the criticism that you were planning to talk about. And 3, you used evidence. What more can you do with evidence? Other than that, though, if you did this in a public forum, like I previously mentioned, that information will last. So maybe this person didn't listen to you, maybe your friend didn't listen to you. That would probably be a more private conversation, though. But if it's out in public, you could have saved someone else. So think about that. Really, what we want to see less of in the hobby is people arguing and fighting in a negative way, in a non-constructive way. So you need to know when the conversation isn't going anywhere and where it's just gonna turn bad and sour and back out at that point. I really think that's step 4 right there. Like I said, not everybody's gonna engage with you and you might misread people. So there you go. Alrighty guys, so that's pretty much how I approach things with these situations with talking with friends. This has still always been an uncomfortable thing for me to do, so that's exactly why we're talking about it. I never am happy about confronting a friend about something that could be this personal, but sometimes you do. It's for the animals, and really, your friends should be willing to be open to criticism, at least from their friend. It's a little bit harder from a stranger, even though you should be open to criticism from strangers as long as it's constructive, but I'm hoping that most friends have that kind of relationship that they can do that. And quickly, before wrapping up, I just want to say getting people to back you up. Whoa. All right, calm it down, Thor. That was stupid. Getting people to back you up, while it might seem like a good idea, might not necessarily be. Think of it on the other side of things. The person might feel ganged up on, threatened. That is something that will probably not lead to them listening to the information you're trying to share and get across. So yeah, it might seem like a good idea. I've thought of it many times and thought about the potential pros, but I think a lot of people just wouldn't be receptive to that. Anyway guys, do you have any tips to give me or other people watching this video about engaging your friends and just engaging the community on constructive criticism and improving husbandry? I would love to hear from you in a comment below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe as well. I would really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks everyone.